My day begins in the quiet pre-dawn light that gently illuminates the small, unassuming town in Oregon where I live. I wake to the familiar chime of my alarm and stretch, feeling the soft embrace of the early morning silence. As I shuffle into the kitchen, I begin the ritual that has defined my days for years, the brewing of a robust cup of coffee that fills the air with its warm, earthy aroma. Sitting on the weathered wooden terrace, I cradle the steaming mug and allow myself a few moments of reflection. The world is still, the sky a delicate wash of pastel hues, and yet beneath the calm exterior of routine, there is an undeniable undercurrent of restlessness. I, Kathy, have always appreciated the simple pleasures of life. In this small town, every detail carries a sense of belonging and familiarity, yet today, as I take in the crisp air and the soft murmur of distant birds, I sense an unfamiliar weight in my heart. The domestic tasks beckon, the quiet hum of the washing machine, the rhythmic clatter of dishes being washed, and the gentle reminders of a home that must be kept in order. Each chore is performed with precision, almost mechanically, as if I am following a script written by years of repetition. My husband, Brandon, is already immersed in his own world. His early morning phone calls and the focused air about his work leave little space for conversation between us. Although I know he is dedicated and hardworking, his silence in the shared moments of the morning only deepens my feeling that something is amiss within me. It is as if the routine, once a source of comfort, has slowly transformed into a cage, one that tethers me to a life devoid of the spark that once lit my soul. Even as I navigate through my daily responsibilities, I find my thoughts drifting to memories of dreams and aspirations that once seemed so tangible. The mundane tasks, the familiar cadence of everyday life, and the predictable pattern of our interactions all serve as a backdrop against which I now measure the subtle erosion of my inner vitality. There is a yearning for something that I can't quite define, a craving for moments that break away from the unremarkable, a desire to rediscover the spark that once made each day feel like a new adventure. In these solitary moments on the terrace, I allow myself a silent rebellion against the weight of the routine. My mind dances between memories of a past when life felt vibrant, and the cautious hope that somewhere, beyond the horizon of my everyday existence, there might be a chance to recapture that elusive feeling of being truly alive. This quiet morning, as the first light of day illuminates the dew on the grass and the gentle clink of my coffee cup echoes in the still air, I acknowledge the truth of my heart. Something inside me is stirring, and the path ahead, though uncertain, promises a departure from the ordinary. On a radiant Saturday morning, I decided to leave behind the confines of routine and venture into the lively embrace of our local farmers' market. The air was filled with the scents of freshly baked bread, ripened fruits, and the earthy aroma of vegetables, while vendors enthusiastically offered their colorful produce. Amid the cheerful banter and the rustle of paper bags, my eyes were drawn to a figure who seemed to blend seamlessly with the warm vibrancy of the scene. As I wandered through rows of rustic stalls, my attention was unexpectedly captured by a smile that radiated quiet sincerity. There, behind a modest display of seasonal greens, stood Marcus, a man whose presence felt both genuine and refreshingly different from the predictable encounters of my everyday life. His eyes, alight with a subtle curiosity, met mine in a moment that transcended the ordinary. The connection was fleeting yet unmistakable, a spark that ignited a silent dialogue of unspoken possibilities. Marcus greeted me with a courteous nod and an engaging remark about the crispness of the produce. His words, though simple, carried an undercurrent of warmth that resonated deeply within me. I found myself drawn into a conversation that flowed naturally, filled with observations about the beauty of the market, the artistry behind each stall, and the way the morning light danced on the vibrant fruits. In that moment, every trivial detail seemed to shimmer with a newfound significance, as if the world had been painted anew by his presence. As we meandered between the stands, our dialogue deepened with each step. Marcus recounted anecdotes about the local farmers, stories imbued with passion and a love for the land that I had long forgotten. I listened intently, feeling the weight of years spent in quiet routine lift ever so slightly with each shared laugh and thoughtful pause. There was an authenticity in his manner that made me question whether I had ever truly seen life outside the well-trodden path of my daily existence. The market, bustling with activity, transformed into a backdrop for a moment of intimate revelation. I felt the subtle shift in my perspective, each stall, each burst of color and aroma, now laden with a sense of purpose that extended beyond the mere act of shopping. Marcus, with his simple gestures and sincere interest, reminded me that life's beauty often lies in the unexpected. In that brief encounter, the monotony of my routine was interrupted, leaving me with a lingering curiosity and a quiet yearning for something more than the familiar cadence of my everyday life. With the market's vibrant energy slowly receding into the background, our conversation ended as naturally as it had begun, leaving me with an indelible memory of a chance meeting that, in its simplicity, felt like the start of a profound, uncharted journey. After that unexpected encounter at the farmer's market, my days began to change imperceptibly at first, then with a growing insistence that I could no longer ignore. Every routine moment, a quiet moment of solitude at the kitchen table, the mundane shuffle through household tasks, even the familiar hum of Brandon's morning phone calls, became a silent stage upon which memories of that brief, unforeseen meeting played over and over. Marcus's genuine smile and the subtle kindness in his eyes had become etched in my mind, a delicate counterpoint to the relentless repetition of my everyday life. As I moved through my day, I could sense a shift within me. The previously comforting cadence of my tasks now seemed to resonate with an undercurrent of melancholy and uncertainty. While I mechanically prepared meals and tidied the rooms, my thoughts drifted to the lively expressions Marcus had worn during our encounter. I began to scrutinize each detail of my past interactions, comparing the predictability of my current existence with the unexpected spark that had, however fleetingly, disrupted it. It was as if I was watching myself from a distance, an observer to a life that had grown too routine, too neatly compartmentalized, leaving little room for the unexpected. The more I reflected, the more I questioned what I had long accepted as my destiny. The little joys that once filled my days, the casual banter with neighbors, even the quiet satisfaction of a well-made cup of coffee, started to lose their luster. A subtle emptiness took hold, urging me to search for something more authentic, a moment of connection that could awaken a dormant part of my spirit. I found myself lingering longer in quiet corners of the day, pausing before routine actions, all the while feeling a tug at the edge of my consciousness, pulling me toward a mystery I could no longer define. In the stillness of early evenings, when the sky deepened to a gentle blue and the world around me settled into a soft hush, I would retreat into long, introspective walks. During these solitary journeys, I sought the hidden meanings behind my restless thoughts, wondering if life was meant to be a mosaic of spontaneous, unpredictable moments, rather than a carefully arranged pattern of duty and habit. Every step seemed to echo with questions about identity, fulfillment, and the quiet longing for experiences that stirred the soul. I began to notice that even the smallest changes in my surroundings, a shift in the light, the distant sound of laughter from a passing car, or the faint murmur of a conversation, evoked within me a complex array of emotions. There was a bittersweet quality to these moments, as if each carried a whisper of the possibility that life might offer something more profound if I were only brave enough to seek it. This internal dialogue, both gentle and insistent, led me to confront a deep-seated fear. The fear of living a life devoid of passion, yet the even greater fear of stepping away from the familiar. Caught in this delicate balance of remembrance and longing, I found that my inner search was not merely a reaction to a single encounter, it was a mirror reflecting years of quiet resignation. The memory of Marcus had become the catalyst, stirring doubts about the choices I had made and the sacrifices I had accepted. In the quiet spaces of my mind, I wrestled with the realization that perhaps the life I had built was not as unyielding as it seemed, and that the possibility of change, however uncertain, was quietly calling me toward a new beginning. A few weeks later, an unexpected invitation led me to a contemporary art gallery in Seattle. The space, filled with bold colors and abstract forms, buzzed with quiet conversations and thoughtful glances. As I wandered through the exhibits, admiring the intricate interplay of light and shadow on canvases that spoke in silent metaphors, I almost missed the familiar figure standing before a striking installation. There he was, Marcus, his presence unmistakable amidst the creative energy of the gallery. Our eyes met once again, and in that moment, the sterile distance of the everyday seemed to vanish, replaced by an inexplicable connection that both surprised and intrigued me. This time, our meeting unfolded not by chance, but as if fate had gently conspired to bring us together again. Marcus was deeply engrossed in an artwork that depicted a surreal blend of nature and urban life, and as I approached, he looked up with a welcoming smile that radiated genuine warmth. We began discussing the symbolism behind the pieces, our conversation slowly evolving from artistic impressions to the subtle reflections of our personal lives. In the quiet hum of the gallery, every word felt significant. Every shared observation was a brushstroke painting a picture of our inner worlds. It was as if the abstract paintings around us were echoing the complexities of our own thoughts and emotions. The encounter at the gallery marked a turning point, a gentle yet persistent reminder that the routine of my existence was not the entirety of my story. Later that same week, I found myself in a small, charming coffee shop in Tacoma. The venue exuded a relaxed ambiance with its soft background music and the comforting murmur of quiet conversations. I sat by a window, savoring the delicate flavors of a freshly brewed latte, when I noticed Marcus sitting alone at a corner table. The coincidence was too compelling to ignore. With a sense of quiet anticipation, I decided to join him. Our conversation in Tacoma was different, more personal and revealing than before. Over steaming cups of coffee, we shared snippets of our lives, stories of childhood dreams, struggles with daily monotony, and the subtle ways in which each of us had been searching for something beyond the visible horizon. I was struck by how easily our words intertwined, forming a tapestry of mutual understanding. It was not merely the thrill of a chance meeting, but the discovery of shared values, the realization that beneath the surface of our distinct lives, there was much that resonated in common. That day, as the light slowly faded outside the cafe's windows, we lingered in a conversation that felt both timeless and urgent. In our exchange, there emerged an unspoken promise, an acknowledgement that every meeting, every shared moment, was gently urging me to reconsider the boundaries of my own life. In the echoes of our dialogue, I sensed that these recurring encounters were far more than random coincidences. They were subtle invitations to explore parts of myself that had long been dormant. One cool autumn evening, I found myself drawn to a cozy bar known for its intimate ambiance and live acoustic sets. The establishment, tucked away in a quiet corner of town, exuded a warmth that was both inviting and nostalgic, a refuge from the routine that had lately felt all too confining. Soft lighting played upon the exposed brick walls, and the gentle strumming of a guitar filled the air with a delicate melody that seemed to underscore every unspoken thought. I settled into a comfortable seat near the small stage, allowing the familiar notes to cradle me as I sipped a carefully prepared cocktail. The soft murmur of conversation and occasional laughter blended into the background, creating a sense of timelessness that made the present feel almost suspended. It was in that suspended moment that I caught sight of Marcus. He was across the room, his expression relaxed yet intent as he listened to the musician's story told through song. His presence, so unexpectedly comforting, stirred an energy within me that I could no longer ignore. Our eyes met across the gentle glow of the bar's ambient light, and without the need for a word, a quiet understanding passed between us. He rose from his seat and approached with an easy confidence, the kind that could only be born from a life lived authentically. As he neared, his gaze held a sincerity that seemed to strip away the layers of my guarded routine. With a gentle smile, he invited me to join him at a table set away from the center of the commotion, a silent offer to share an evening that promised more than the simple escape from everyday monotony. Over the course of our conversation, the topics wandered from art and literature to personal anecdotes and future dreams. Marcus spoke with an earnest clarity that made each word feel significant, and I found myself sharing more than I had anticipated. There was no pretense in our exchange. It was as if the world had momentarily receded, leaving only the soft cadence of our voices in a private bubble of genuine connection. The discussion flowed effortlessly, punctuated by comfortable silences that allowed our mutual understanding to deepen without the need for constant words. As the evening wore on, the unspoken invitation in his eyes grew bolder. In a quiet moment when the music softened and the chatter around us dimmed to a hushed background murmur, Marcus leaned in and proposed that we continue to explore the unfolding magic of the night together. The air between us seemed charged not with overt declarations, but with a subtle, shared acknowledgement of our desire to step beyond the confines of the everyday. It was then, in a gentle and unhurried gesture, that our lips met. The kiss was soft and reflective, a quiet act that conveyed both an understanding of our shared longing and an unspoken promise to look for something more in the spaces between routine and possibility. In that single, tender moment, I felt a shift that resonated deep within me. The familiar boundaries of my life began to blur as I realized that perhaps this was the beginning of a journey toward rediscovering parts of myself that had long been forgotten. Returning home that night, I was enveloped by a disquiet I could neither ignore nor fully comprehend. The soft glow of the living room lamp did little to dispel the turmoil that had taken root inside me. I paused in the doorway, heart heavy with the weight of what had just transpired. The echoes of the evening, every shared word, every subtle gesture, reverberated through my thoughts. The intimacy of that stolen moment with Marcus, which had seemed like a tender escape from my monotonous routine, now loomed over me as an undeniable breach of the unspoken promises that had long defined my marriage. As I moved through the familiar spaces of our home, each step felt laden with a mixture of regret and a dawning clarity. Brandon was already awake, his attention absorbed by the soft hum of his work. His eyes met mine briefly, filled with quiet concern, yet he said nothing. I felt the strain in his gaze, the unspoken question hanging in the air. Was something amiss? The silence between us grew heavier with every minute, and I realized that my secret was not as hidden as I had believed. The warmth of our morning routine had now turned into a cold awareness that every action carried its own consequence. In the solitude of the night, while Brandon continued with his daily tasks, I retreated into a private conversation with myself. Each thought felt sharper and more accusatory. How had I allowed this breach to happen? The certainty of my actions clashed violently with the image of the life I had meticulously built, one of trust, commitment, and shared dreams. The realization of my betrayal cut deeper than I had anticipated, and I struggled to reconcile the newfound stirring of my inner desires with the promises that once gave my life structure. It was as if the quiet corners of our home now whispered questions about integrity and truth, each familiar creak of the floorboards echoing with the weight of my decision. I found no immediate solace in the routine of household chores, nor in the muted distractions of a quiet evening. Instead, I felt compelled to confront the reality that had been unfolding in parallel to my life's predictable rhythm. My heart, once a vessel of quiet contentment, now throbbed with a cacophony of regret and self-reproach. The thought of Brandon, ever gentle and kind, now mingled with a profound sorrow at the betrayal he would soon endure. The realization was both unbearable and inescapable, a stark reminder that the path I had taken would forever alter the tapestry of our shared existence. In that lonely hour, with the shadows of the night as my only witness, I was forced to face the truth. My actions had set into motion a series of events that could not be undone. The fragile balance of trust and routine was shattered, and the burden of that knowledge pressed down on me with relentless force. The awareness of the irreversible change that lay ahead mingled with a deep internal fear of losing not only the comfort of familiarity, but also the essence of who I believed I was. The days following that fateful evening had grown quieter, the silence at home deepening with each sunrise. In the midst of this internal turmoil, I found a small measure of solace in the comforting presence of my longtime friend, Emily. We had always shared a bond built on mutual honesty and empathy, and as the weight of my secret pressed down on me, I knew that I could no longer shoulder it alone. It was on a brisk, overcast afternoon that Emily and I met at a little-known park on the edge of town, a serene haven where the rustle of leaves and distant calls of birds created an atmosphere of gentle reflection. We settled on a worn wooden bench beneath an ancient oak, its branches stretching out like welcoming arms. I had been hesitant to speak at first, acutely aware of the storm of thoughts swirling inside me. But Emily's calm, perceptive eyes invited me to share the burden I had been carrying. "You've been different lately, Kathy," she began softly, her voice laced with concern yet free from judgment. "I can sense that something significant has shifted in you. I need you to be honest with me. Have you done something that you regret?" Her words were careful, measured, and sincere, as though she were trying to guide me back to a place of truth without igniting further pain. For a long moment, I stared at my hands, trying to gather the courage to confess. The scenery around us, children laughing in the distance, couples strolling leisurely, only heightened my internal conflict. Finally, the dam of secrecy broke. In a voice that trembled with both remorse and relief, I admitted, I made a choice, one that I never imagined I would. I crossed a line that I had promised myself I would never approach. Each syllable felt both like an admission of guilt and a plea for understanding. Emily listened intently, her eyes never leaving mine, absorbing every word as if they were fragile confessions meant to be handled with care. When I paused, the silence between us was filled not with judgment, but with a deep, unspoken compassion. "Kathy," she said gently, "we all carry moments we wish we could rewrite, but it's the way we choose to face our mistakes that shapes who we are." Her words, soft yet firm, brought a measure of clarity to the muddled chaos within me. She urged me to reflect not only on the mistake itself, but also on the underlying dissatisfaction that had led me there. "You deserve to understand what it is that you're truly longing for," Emily continued. "This isn't about assigning blame. It's about learning from what has happened, so you can make decisions that honor both your needs and the commitments you hold dear." As she spoke, I felt an unexpected release, as though her understanding allowed me to begin the slow process of reconciling my past actions with my future aspirations. Our conversation unfolded slowly, each minute peeling back layers of pretense to reveal raw vulnerability. Emily's insights guided me toward a deeper introspection, encouraging me to consider not just the implications of my choices, but also the steps I might take to restore the balance that had been disrupted. I realized that I was at a crossroads. One path led further into the labyrinth of regret, while the other, though fraught with uncertainty, promised a chance to rebuild trust and rediscover a sense of purpose. In that quiet corner of the park, with the autumn wind gently rustling the fallen leaves around us, I began to see the outlines of a difficult but necessary journey ahead. It was a journey that demanded honesty, courage, and the willingness to accept the consequences of one's actions, no matter how painful. And as Emily's compassionate gaze met mine, I sensed that perhaps with time and sincerity, there might still be a way to find redemption and peace.